It is January 2026, which marks 4 years of full-scale war in Ukraine, and the battlefield itself has mutated into something bizarre, dystopian, and terrifying. You only have to look closely at the front lines in the Pokrovsk sector right now to see Russian soldiers wandering the snow wrapped in silver foil-lined ponchos and looking quite literally like penguins. High above the Kirovohrad region, Iranian-designed suicide drones have stopped flying blind and are now being piloted in real time using Elon Musk's Starlink technology to hunt down helicopters. Meanwhile, the peace tables in Abu Dhabi look just as strange because Russia sent a general known for shadow operations in Syria rather than a diplomat. We are not talking about the standard news cycle in this video. Instead, we are digging into the 3 strangest and deadliest tactical evolutions that prove Russia is desperate and adapting in ways nobody expected. We have to start with the penguins, because what sounds like a bad joke is actually a deadly serious adaptation to the drone war. Russian assault infantry in the Pokrovsk sector have started equipping themselves with heavy, foil-lined ponchos made of thermal insulating material they call nakidka. The physics behind this are simple enough, since thermal FPV drones rule the night and make the human body a glowing target. Soldiers wear these cloaks to trap their body heat and become invisible to thermal scopes, but the stiff material forces them to waddle through the snow, which led Ukrainians to give them that ridiculous nickname. Low-tech solutions are being thrown at high-tech problems, and the grim reality of how that plays out in 2026 was captured in a recent video circulating from the front lines. One of these penguins is seen moving through the dark with the cloak successfully hiding his heat signature, but the covering blocked his vision and forced him to lift the foil cape just to see where he was going. That single mistake caused his heat signature to flare on the thermal camera of a waiting FPV drone, which spotted him instantly and struck him in the face. It epitomizes the current state of the Russian army, where desperate measures to mask movements fail, because the sheer density of surveillance means even a carnival outfit offers little protection. While infantry units wrap themselves in foil blankets, the air war has taken a terrifying technological leap involving the Shahed drones we usually think of as flying mopeds crashing into power plants. Those weapons typically just fly a straight line based on plugged-in GPS coordinates, but that changed on January 25, 2026, when Ukrainian forces in the Kirovohrad region shot down a Shahed drone that was different. Strapped to the hull of that drone was a Starlink terminal. This matters because Starlink provides high-speed and low-latency internet anywhere on Earth, and attaching it to a long-range drone means the Russians have turned a dumb suicide weapon into a precision-guided reconnaissance asset, piloted in real time. The target was not a stationary building this time, but a Ukrainian Mi-24 helicopter. Debate continues about whether it was hunting a decoy or a real chopper, but the intent is clear. Russia has created a slow-moving cruise missile that can loiter and chase moving aircraft while being controlled via satellite internet. Technology might be getting more complex, but the soldiers operating it are becoming significantly more expendable. Russia has recruited from prisons for years, yet the net is widening, and the training is shrinking as the war drags into its 4th year. Ukrainian intelligence recently recovered the body of a Filipino mercenary named John Patrick, whose tragic story reveals the current state of the Russian military machine. He likely arrived looking for work only to be funneled into the army, where documents found on his body show his military training lasted exactly 1 week. 7 days was all the time he received before commanders sent him to the zero line at the absolute front edge of the combat zone. Commanders threw him into a meat assault in a forest belt without an evacuation plan, and that is where he took a wound and was left to die in the snow. Intelligence reports indicate that Russia is increasingly trapping labor migrants by having police threaten them with deportation if they do not sign up, and recruiters promise rearguard jobs only to send them to the front lines within a week. Russian Z-bloggers and volunteers are even admitting openly now that the army is filled not with patriots, but with people fighting because of debts, loans, or coercion. We also need to look at the diplomatic front, where talks recently took place in Dhabi between the US, Ukraine, and Russia. You would expect Moscow to send a high-ranking diplomat from the foreign ministry, but instead they sent General Aleksandr Zorin. This man is not a politician, but rather a fixer for the Kremlin's special operations, who oversaw the brutal campaigns in Syria. He also managed the Wagner mercenary group and stood physically present at the negotiations for the surrender of the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol. Zorin is the man you call for shadow diplomacy, when the goal is not to make peace but to force the other side to submit. Moscow sending a special operations general to talk to the Americans shows the Kremlin sees these talks as just another special operation because they are not looking for a compromise so much as capitulation. The war in 2026 has become a strange mix of the primitive and the sophisticated, ranging from foil-wrapped soldiers in the snow to General Zorin at the negotiating table. Russia is manufacturing Oreshnik missiles at a rate of only 3 or 4 a year, while simultaneously jury-rigging Starlink terminals onto drones to hunt helicopters. Let me know in the comments if you think the Starlink drones or the expansion of the mercenary network is the more dangerous development. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates.